Underway. Welcome everyone to the Town and Community Committee of Biddulph Town Council on Tuesday, the 18th of March, 2025, here in the Council Chamber. Welcome to all those watching us on YouTube. So this meeting is being recorded and will be uploaded to the Biddulph Town Council YouTube page. The aim is that decision making should be transparent and in the public domain and will involve more of our community in local democracy. By being in this council chamber, you are consenting to being recorded and for your image to be added to YouTube. The images and sound may be used for training purposes. Any views expressed are the speaker's own and do not necessarily reflect the view of Biddulph Town Council. Please view the guidance on recording in public meetings policy if you need more information. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Let's start on agenda item 74, apologies and approval of any substitute members. Chief Officer, do we have any apologies apart from Councillor Smith?
No, I think Councillor Smith's the only one that.
Do we have any substitutes nominated?
Nope.
Okay, right. Thank you. Moving on to item 75, declarations of interest. Do we have any disclosable pecuniary interests and dispensations that need to be declared at this stage from anyone on the committee? If something crops up, okay. Do we have any other interests that need to be declared by anybody on the committee? Okay, if anything occurs as we go through, then please shout out. Thank you very much. Okay, so 76 minutes. A, to sign the minutes of the Town and Community Committee meeting held on Tuesday, the 18th of February, 2025. These minutes have been through the Town Council.
Sorry, Chair, just on the previous point, on item 82, you're discussing the town's mental health first aiders. So I delivered that.
Right. So are you going to stay in the room and
Chief Officer?
Or
I would, well, it's obviously up to you, but I wouldn't think there's any additional funding being discussed. No. So I think, well, it's an interest.
It's still about the next step, which I'm heavily involved in.
Okay, right. So we have a declared interest there. That's probably an other interest then rather than a pecuniary interest because
there's no additional
pecuniary stuff. Okay, right. Thank you very much. Thank you for that part. Right, so as I was saying, the minutes have been through the Town Council meeting where they were approved. So someone to propose them and second them, and we'll take them for a vote unless anybody wants to go through them.
I'll propose them.
Okay, thank you. Councillor proposing, Councillor Rogers seconding. And have a show of hands, those in favour. Thank you. Do we have anyone against? Any abstentions? No. Okay, so that's unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay, so if you just bear with me for a moment while I need to sign these others. Rather than Charlie. Yeah. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to receive the notes of the Biddulph Works Together meeting held on the 25th of February. I think they probably do need moving because they haven't been through any other council or committee. So moved by Councillor, seconded by Councillor Harper. Quickly run through them. Present, declarations of interest, apologies, to receive the notes of the meeting held on the 15th of January, update from members, an opportunity to share any learnings from the 24-25 period so far, and then date of the next meeting. Are we all happy to, are we receiving those or are we approving?
Receiving.
We're receiving those. Are we happy to receive those? Can I have a show of hands, please? Anyone not happy to receive them? No. Any abstentions? No, that is unanimous. Thank you very much. And thank you again for chairing that meeting so well and for the excellent support we're giving to our local community groups. Councillor Jackson. Moving on to 77 to receive an update on the chain reaction project. You all have a poster, I believe, going round. Chief Officer, would you like to?
Yes. So from previous discussions, if you recall, chain reaction is a sort of umbrella term for a whole host of bike-related projects that are going on over the next year with all of the partners that you can see at the bottom. So we formed quite a nice little partnership meeting and people are coming at it from different perspectives. Some want to work with young people to give away bikes and to help them to to restore them and refurbish them. Others want to raise awareness of kind of women's only groups who will potentially do some guided bike rides together in other parts of the district. There's lots of really lovely ideas coming together. So obviously be aware that our mayor is starting his charity cycle ride on the 9th, and then on the 12th of April there's an event which will take place by Biddulph Library in that kind of space between the library and the health centre. And Outside Arts have commissioned bicycle ballet, which should be a sight to behold in its own right. If you have a look on YouTube at that, that's pretty impressive. The Moorlands Climate Action Group are going to do some bike checks and do some minor repairs where they can. The police will be there doing free security marking, and it will be an opportunity for the wider group to do a bit of a questionnaire with people to find out where they're at with cycling, really, what improvements they'd like to see, whether the aspiration is kind of beyond the period of the year that there will be a kind of cycling forum, which will be a Moorlands-wide project and that kind of come together to improve cycling opportunities across the district. So it's very much the start of that project. The hope is, and what kind of started it all off, is there's lots of bikes at recycling. People give away because their children in particular have grown out of them. And they're in really good condition and they are saved by the recycling centres, but they just need new homes. So that's one of the main kind of drivers behind the project, is to get bikes to people who maybe can't afford them themselves or don't know how to look after them, and to kind of facilitate that. So it's all really lovely stuff. As I say, the first big event is on the 12th. Whether we'll be able to hook up with the team that will be in London, hopefully by then, we'll watch this space. From a hospital bed, no.
Can I just clarify then that this is now at the session outside the library? Because I believe, wasn't it originally going to be at one of the playing field areas?
It's the start.
That's the start.
That's the start.
Right. Okay, fine. It's okay. That's just in the context of having had some of these reclaimed bikes which are going to be decorated. We'll put one there.
It may be the case that as part of the mayor's event, the outside project are going to be working with schools to come up with a kind of bike related art and to kind of get them involved in thinking about bikes. And then some of the young people within schools locally will be given bikes that have been serviced and repaired as necessary. So they will be kind of gifted those. And then hopefully they will start off with Nigel and team on their bike journey, but that's taking place now from the live stream church car park.
Yeah. Okay, right. So I've got Councillor Yates. I don't think there was anyone else had a hand up, but Councillor Yates.
Yes. I think Chief Officer said quite a lot. We're planning to start with a bit of an event on the 9th from live stream church. I have got Boomer coming down from Port Vale mascot, and a couple of members of staff. We're trying to get players. He's actually very good as Boom. He's very good with the kids. Yeah.
Do you want to enter into the divisive context of
what we've also done is we've prepared some maps for people who want to sort of join us at the start and perhaps, want to do a very short route, which is effectively to Brownlees Road and back, or they can go as far as a lap of Charlie Whitfield, which is a nice circuit to come back, very safe. Or they can go a little bit further and end up at Westport Lake and then come back. But if people are interested in that, then we'll need somebody. And I'm looking at you, Councillor. I just need somebody to guide them who knows that particular route back, because it is a little bit convoluted back, and then he can jump into the support wheel and catch up with somewhere like Abbots Bromley. But anyway, that's another story. But when it comes to the Saturday, hopefully, weather permitting, I'd like to think we could set up a TV outside with an extension and then do a live stream of the team finishing in Regent's Park.
I think that's unlikely because it's in the library's kit. So they've got that kit.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll have that kit.
You can have that conversation.
I'll have that conversation. Well, that would be good because it'd be the start and finish, so to speak, and people could see that we're still alive, hopefully, and not wet.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Councillor Yates.
Fish in his pocket.
Right. I've got Councillor Jackson.
The only thing is
Councillor Hart.
this particular poster, there's an attractor for young people without bikes, the finding new homes for bikes. That was certainly more prominent at the top there somewhere. I think it might have attracted, younger people that hadn't got bikes that might want to get one. That's the only little thing, but that could be a real pull for young people who haven't got bikes to get them to come along to that. And I don't know whether, have we done this? I don't know if we've done it, I would have kept my mouth shut.
Oh, no, it is something that started with us. It's, as I say, it's a big partnership job, so everybody's kind of contributed in different ways.
That's the only little thing, I think, that would be a real pull for young people that haven't got bikes, if that was a bit more prominent, because, have you lost your attention span, or have young people lost their attention span by the time they get down to that right-hand corner? That was all, that was just that.
Okay.
Yep. Thanks.
I don't know.
Okay, it's okay, Councillor Jackson, you got away with this one. Okay, right.
That wasn't a criticism.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Moving on, Councillor Harper.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. If I was listening correctly, you're on about recycling the bicycles, yeah? I mean, I got involved in them schemes in the city and what have you. And obviously the police station, Wayne was involved in that. We did do a system where we had, these stamps, where you could stamp on the bike your ST code in case it was ever stolen or whatever like that. They knew where the bike originated from. Can we not do a similar thing to that? Is it on there? I haven't read it, have I?
Free security marking. I think that's what we're talking about, security marking.
I don't know what that looks like these days practically, whether it's a kind of.
Still an indelible pen, I think, nowadays.
Oh, that's smart water stuff, isn't it? Yeah. Do they do this? One last question. Do they do the safety checks on the bicycles at the same time?
So all of those that will be given away to the local schools as part of this kind of art project, the start of the project, all of those will be checked and kind of looked after, and inner tubes replaced or whatever they need to do with those. Going forward, as a kind of collective, we need to try and put in for some grant funding, because actually it's the bits of things that where the cost backs up, and both Mourners Climate Action and Social Connective run repair cafes, and their kind of offering could extend to bike repairs and that sort of stuff, but they need a bit more kit for that.
It does bring me on to my very, very last one, Chair, honestly.
Okay, Councillor Harper,
Many months ago, we talked about having bicycle racks, did we not, in the town, so people could park the bikes.
Good.
Have I missed something on this?
That's very much an us thing, and we've talked as a wider group about actually one of the kind of aspirations is to improve infrastructure all around the town, whether that be improved tracks, routes, pathways, or whether it's, we talked, I think it was the last meeting, and Councillor Salter raised again the idea about having repair points.
Yeah.
Like that. I think that falls very nicely within this, and hopefully something we can kind of move forward with over the course.
If there's any grants for it,
Well, that's the thing, really. We've got to find some funding, I think.
I shall say no more, Chair.
So that's okay, Councillor Harper. Councillor Salt, you had
Just a very practical thing. Just in case you want to know, I've got a meeting in Birmingham when you start your ride, but I would like to see what time you're starting off, because I might be able to visit early doors. Is it
Before 10 o'clock.
Oh, that's okay then. That's okay.
Not much before 10 o'clock, by the looks of things.
Doesn't get out of bed.
okay. Thank you very much. Anything else?
No, it's.
Okay, Councillor Rogers.
Well, it's just a very quick plug, a cheeky plug, really. If anybody wants to donate to the charities, the Mayor's charity for the cycle ride to London. I know some of you have. There's a form going around. You can do it on the old-fashioned way of a form, or do it online, whichever you want to do. Thank you.
Wait till he gets back.
You want evidence?
As incentive. Okay, right. Thank you very much. Okay, so essentially we've got an event here going to kick off the cycling initiatives within the town, which is great. Thank you. Moving on. Item 78, to receive an update on proposed tree planting. Chief Officer, back to you again.
Thank you. So we've received 2 boxes of saplings from the Woodland Trust, and we've had some donations of trees as a result of my social media note to tell people that we would plant potentially trees that they hadn't got space for, or had got within their homes. So we've been and picked up bits and bobs of trees. which we're very grateful for and we'll find good homes for. So we need to agree a date when we'll do the tree planting. Depending really on who wants to come and people's availability, we've either got this Friday, which is the 21st, the Sunday, which is the 23rd, or we're into April on the 3rd of April. So I think probably you'd only need to allocate 2 or 3 hours to it, because whilst we've got 400 odd saplings, they'll live on just twigs. So there's no actual involved in digging them in. So essentially, whatever if you want to be involved, let me know and try and coordinate.
Simply looking at the weather forecast, Friday looks nice, Sunday looks raining, and
Yeah.
so I would suggest Friday probably.
Well, we're not fair weather planters, are
I don't know, but you're likely to get a bigger turnout for sun shining.
we?
It was rains in Liverpool.
You just, you have to see what suits everyone.
Right.
Friday preferably, I'm tied up this weekend.
So, Councillor Yates.
Friday morning is perfect for me.
So I think there's a general consensus.
No, what to say, wait, Fridays.
Yeah, got Friday, right.
I can't make Friday personally, but I'm just thinking that if you wanted to get the young people and stuff involved,
Well, yeah.
they can't make a Friday. Well, certainly not.
Well, I've emailed the high school, the Duke of Edinburgh lead, and said, was there anybody who was interested? He asked if it would be okay to pass my email address on to those who are on the Duke of Edinburgh scheme and they could contact me directly. No one has as yet, but I did make it clear that we'd be happy to try and accommodate any other volunteering opportunities throughout the course of the year. So if it is that I don't hear from anybody before then we'll work with young people on something.
Do we need a decision on the date now, or?
If it's going to be Friday, then I think we need to, yeah.
I think if we've got enough, is it just the three of us?
I'm looking at other people who
Yep.
like to be at countryside.
Marg, 4 of us.
I'm available Friday,
You
yeah,
doing that?
to double check, but yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
All right,
Friday
Friday
AM?
morning, yeah. We need to find some way of getting the trees that are down the side, because there's some in quite big pots. We'll think about that, think about the logistics.
Is Rob free? Because we've been reducing Lensman jobs, haven't we?
No, not really.
No.
Okay, right, so I think we can leave that tip for you, with you to
Yeah, I'll
liaise on that.
then.
But where are we going to meet?
I think if we leave it, rather than debating it now, if the
Yeah.
officer sends out a
I'll call
missive to everyone with the details,
Fine,
just to, because we've got lots of things on the meeting to go through.
yeah.
Right, okay, moving on to item 79, to receive an update on the Library of Things project.
Yes, so I did allude to this last time, but we have now had formal confirmation that we've been successful with the county council grant of £4,500 for the development of a Library of Things
Well done.
project, which they're very excited about because there are not many Library of Things around the place. The only fly in the ointment really is that it's got to be spent by the end of June. So you need to get on with that. So over the next few weeks, we're going to have to with some policies and procedures and a kind of project plan. So really, I want to know whether you just want that information coming here for you to approve, or whether you think a kind of very short-term group, if anybody's got any interest in that, whether you want to kind of meet to bash that out, or are you happy for us to develop stuff and bring it here? How you want to do that, really?
Okay, I've got Councillor Rogers and then Councillor Jackson, so.
Thank you. I have mentioned it before. Have you had a chance to look into if anybody got personal injury, the way insurance or what we'd have to do or anything like that? Have we looked into that yet?
You do lots of disclaimers. You have policies.
It's a only disclaimer, is it?
Yeah, essentially, and it's and we commit to do testing of
I
their.
have sort of take my equipment, but any injuries on a disclaimer.
Give it one meeting, please.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, and that will be in the policies that we'll have an opportunity to have a look at. And we've obviously got a new insurance provider now, so we'll work very closely with them. We won't move forward with the project until we're all absolutely happy with the documents.
It's okay.
Okay, Councillor Jackson?
Yeah, is this, say June or July, the
End of June.
end of June? Is that going to cause a major problem? I mean, what I'm thinking is, where are we thinking of actually storing and keeping this stuff? Here. Is it all?
Yeah, well, we didn't put another tenant in room C on the back corridor, and that's the one that's got access.
Here's an idea then. Can we as a town council charge rent for the Library of Things group? As a way, they then, if we've got to get this money like technically used, that then the town council then can sort of support Library of Things with the with the rent that we've had off there. I'm just wondering if that's a way of getting around this, you know, using this money up, so none of it goes back to the county council. I'm not saying it would.
Yeah.
And I dare say there will be some some stuff that we can spend quite a chunk of the 4,000 on. I was just wondering if there's a way of using the money.
Can't use the funding for rent, but we have been quite creative in terms of the enhancements that would be needed for the storage space. So, we can use it for that.
So essentially, in terms of progressing this, the option is either to bring for you to put policies together, bring them back to the next
Well, that's the answer.
T&C meeting, or do
Is
we
it
want to have a
too-
separate working
yeah.
group?
Is it too much to say, let's have another little working group, or is it just bring it all back here and everyone's happy to plough through it?
I would propose, Chair, sorry.
Is that,
Here.
okay, so proposals to bring it back here. Second for that? Seconded by councillor Harper. Can we have a show of hands, please? Everyone's happy with that? Yep, okay, so you'll go away, produce policies, bring them back to the next T&C meeting with a
Yeah.
proposal for how we're going to spend the money and how it's going to,
Yeah, we'll do a bit of project plan. I think that's the best way to
Excellent,
do it.
thank you.
And the breakdown of costs.
that wonderful. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to item 80, to provide a response to the District Council management plans for Halls Road Recreation Ground and Biddulph Valley Park. You will have received the email with 2 attached documents. Hopefully everyone's had a chance to read them. Chief Officer, do you want to take the lead on this?
Really, we're a consultee as regards this. Obviously, they're both in Biddulph, these sites are, so we've had the opportunity to have a look at those. I wonder if there's anything that's sticks out to anybody, anything you want to raise, any concerns, any observations, and I'll feed those back.
I've got Councillor Yates. Councillor Yates?
Yes, this is part of the 30 by 30 aim, which is in the Plan for Nature, which is a national government target. And Saffron Walls District Council certainly wants to lead by example on the green spaces which it's got. And there are a number in that policy, there are a number of overarching aims. And one of the principal ones is maintain the amenity value of the spaces which they are now. So certainly in consideration to Halls Road, that is primarily a recreation area, so that the recreation facilities are sacrosanct, and if anything, we're looking to enhance. However, it is a residual sand quarry, and as such, on the outskirts of Gillow Heath, Heath is in the title, there is scope as part of the 30 by 30 project, 30% of the land managed for nature. There is certainly considerable hope that we can reintroduce a heathland habitat there, which will bring back a number of songbird species which have really diminished in the Biddulph area, especially the finches and the wider finch family, like siskins and things like that. And there's some hummocky land which actually lends itself perfectly to heathland creation. There's a few pieces of gorse and things which have self-seeded there, and certainly over the next couple of years as a cycle, we plan to make that into a proper little heathland habitat, which was quite common in the Biddulph area because of the sand deposits and things. And we also want to create wildlife connections to what's down in the bottom part of Halls Road leading to Briarswood by creating hedgelands and things and whatever. However, outside of the obvious 30 by 30 targets, there is a question which I'd like to raise to this council on a feeling, and that is there is a long-standing kick wall there which hasn't been maintained for absolutely ages. Kids don't necessarily really play in that as such ever since they've got the enclosed five-a-side pitch, because obviously they can kick the ball against the fences, which they do, and the ball doesn't go and disappear. My personal thought and feeling is that knowing that we're short of football pitches, especially the smaller football pitches, then perhaps we should be looking at removing the kick wall in its entirety and re-establishing that part of that lower part as a couple of smaller junior football pitches. I think from a neighbour's point of view, you know, that kick wall hasn't got any sort of visual appeal at all whatsoever. And that by creating a continuous hedge line, which is part of the 30 by 30 alongside the opposite side of group gardens, that would provide adequate screening and also a demonstration of the intention on nature. So I would be interested in the views as part of the review on this about what we do with that little bit of land. I would suggest it looks a little bit like a carbuncle at the moment, which isn't particularly used.
Does anyone have any comments? Anyone else have any comments on that?
It's part of.
Councillor Redfern, yes? No.
Yeah, I think it's an entirely sensible idea to try and increase the number of pitches. The number of times I've sat here recently at meetings and heard just how difficult it is for teams to find pitches in the area. Seems to me to be a bit of a no-brainer, really. I'm fully supporting moving that pitches in.
Thank you. Did you want to come in on this?
All I was going to say is that's part of the Move More agenda, isn't it? The review of existing outdoor fitness equipment. So I suggest we let them lead on that.
Well,
I mean, I would suggest in terms of the experience of Biddlesmore, where there was a kick wall at the far end of the recreation ground taken down and subsequently the mugger was put there. They weren't actually linked, I don't think, but I think that the use of the mugger has been significantly greater than the use of the previous use of the kick wall. I think it was the fact that the kick wall was unsafe, which is why it was taken down rather than for the purpose of replacement. But effectively, it's provided an alternative facility, and that was much better used, and therefore I think that would be a very good proposal to go forward with. Okay. I would also make the comment on the the other one. Biddulph Valley Park. I think there's proposals in here which are quite welcome in terms of habitat improvement, particularly in the stream area itself. Whether there are issues with that in terms of contamination, I'm sure you can comment more on that than.
Yeah, just coming back on that, there has been AES, who were the groundwork contractor for Staffs Moors, have done significant planting over this winter, which is very nice of them, so to speak. There was a couple of issues with some maintenance which caused them to be a little bit on the back foot, shall we say. So they've certainly put back what was done wrong, and what was done wrong is recoverable as it happens, so that's not too bad. But the plan is, we do know we've got some combined surface water and sewage overflow drains going into the Biddulph route down there, which does cause intermittent problems, unfortunately, with, you know, effluent going in, for want of a better term, and deoxidising the water. The plan is to below each of those sewage overflows is to create a bowl by digging it out and planting a reed bed. And reed beds are known to clean up, they even absorb heavy metals and things like that, but they're absolutely known to clean up these issues and actually create a habitat at the same time. So that's what we're looking to do. And to be honest, we are looking to the water companies for support to do that as an interim measure, whilst longer term, they obviously resolve the issue with the sewage overflows. But again, that would create a wildlife zone which is currently missing in the valley.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. I mean, also picking up on that, I'd also say I think the proposals for better community engagement in terms of sort of this suggestion of a Friends of the Park would actually be quite a good move forward, because I think its location between Biddulph North and Biddulph East allows for engagement with both sides of the valley. That would be, I think, could be a good thing going forward. Okay, right. Anyone else got any comments on that before we move on? Okay, thank you. So do we need to, it says, do we need to provide a response then, Chief Officer? Are we expecting to send anything back other than saying?
I think we should,
Okay.
even if it's just that we, as a committee, that we're supportive of the proposals, if that's what you are.
I think we are.
We should reply in some way, I think.
Do we also need to put in the comment from Councillor Yates suggested about the removal of the kick wall? That's not actually in there as a specific plan, is it?
No, I think possibly we can say we look forward to engaging with the Move More team in relation to the review of outdoor spaces. I'm keen to do that.
Football strategy, because they're
Yes.
not with a new football.
So that ties in quite well. Yes, if we can link that in.
Yeah.
We all happy for that to go as a general tone of the response? Okay, thank you. We'll leave you, Chief Officer, to put the exact wordings together.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to item 81. Chief Officer again to receive an update on the emerging veterans event in Biddle. Again, everyone has had a sheet.
No,
It's not that, that's a different one, right?
it's
Okay. Coming to that one later, okay.
The town council meeting, not last time, the time before, councillor Proudlove had put an agenda item on, at the request of councillor Corley, from Leek, about a veterans event in Biddle. So I met with councillor Corley and Lyndon from the district and identified a couple of dates. We are quite short of Saturdays as in the town hall, particularly towards the end of the year. But I did say we often get much better footfall in the town on a Friday. So we identified a couple of Fridays in October, currently working as a preferred date on Friday, the 17th of October in the hall downstairs. I've offered that room free of charge, but the district council have got some funding for kind of teas and coffees and other refreshments, because I did say it's quite usual practice for town council hosted events for us to provide some form of refreshment. But there's a really lovely lot of company oncoming who provide existing support to veterans over a whole range of subjects and from quite a wide area as well, but from Stoke-on-Trent and Staffordshire. So as and when the date is finalised and the group is agreed, then promote that quite widely.
Councillor Prowler, do you want to come in on this?
Yeah, it was just I had an update from Councillor Cole this morning, but obviously just confirm what you just said.
At the front of the open, sorry.
So we'll be looking forward to inviting or welcoming veterans into the town hall. I think it's in some ways it's appropriate to comment at this point that I think it was earlier this week that we heard news that the last surviving Battle of Britain pilot passed away. So it's good. I think that we should be recognising as many of the veterans that we can from that time and going forward. Councillor Salt.
Will there be local mental health charities, especially for men, represented there? If not, can there be? Because we know of a person that's really struggling who is young. So sometimes we think about veterans as being in their older years, their twilight years, but actually there's a lot of veterans that are really, really struggling with their mental health from Iraq and Afghanistan, living locally, that are really struggling.
Okay. It's Lyndon who's coming up with the list, but I'll fire a message to him and just say.
Thank you for that. That's
sure.
a really good addition to the.
And also, can we just make sure that Biddle British Legion, I'm not a member. If anyone wants me to declare an interest, I'm not a member, but can we make sure that Biddle British Legion are also there as well?
Someone is not.
Because they are a veterans charity.
That would, yeah. I think it was a big given, wasn't it, really, that they would be involved? Okay, anyone else want to, Councillor Rogers?
Just a very quick one, 17th of October, being on quite a bit in the year. Aren't we better just adding it a little bit later, close to Remembrance Sunday time for the veterans? Just a thought.
From our perspective, it's mostly about room availability.
Okay, yeah. I was thinking of tacking it on to Remembrance Week, nights or whatever.
It needs doing, really.
Okay.
So I think.
Okay, right. Thank you, Chief Officer.
Yeah.
I think everyone's covered on that now. Okay, so moving on to item 82, which ties in with that, an update on the town's mental health first aiders and to agree the next steps. Councillor Parks, you declared an interest in this because obviously involved in a mental health first aid training. So, Chief Officer.
Thank you. So Jodie and I are absolutely delighted that we have passed our level 3 mental health first aid, which makes us now supervisors. And so our role within that will be to support those people who have done their mental health first aid training. And our aspiration as part of that is to try and hold an initial meeting with those people on the 28th of April. So that'll be a brief session, only for an hour. We'll have some cups of tea and kind of a chat about the way forward and what support that we can provide, so that we haven't trained all these people and then kind of left them in the lurch delivering support with mental health.
What was the date again? Sorry.
28th of April. So we've kind of kicked it up till after Easter. And then we'll contact everybody who did the training and then, try and find out some availability. So nothing too onerous for them. There's no, nothing to sign. There's nothing to, hard. It's just a chat. It's a how have you used this so far? If you haven't, are you concerned about it? You know, what other resources can we provide you with? And then we'll be kind of on the phone to anybody who needs that extra support if they are in a position to deliver some advice. I don't know if there's much more you want to say on that, but
No, other than if I can.
Yeah.
Other than, you know, like I said at the outset, it's great that Biddulph has got per capita probably more mental health first aiders than any town in the country. But as it stands, it just means we're a town full of mental health first aiders. That's, you know, that's all that is at this point. And there needs to be an ongoing strategy. So at the meeting on the 28th, we'll get together and explain the role of, they got their certificates this evening, by the way, that's why they're all excited.
Oh, yeah.
The role of supervisors, but more importantly, I think it's going to be an opportunity for people to share experiences. I know that the people who have done the training, and we've got Dave in the room and Kev and Cheryl have been in touch with me anyway to talk about that, because that's what this is all about. But, you know, whereas I think the idea is I will remain as a kind of advisor loosely, it's getting passed over to these amazing ladies here to kind of supervise the programme. And as it stands, you know, we're going to move on from having a huge number of mental health first aiders, and now what's that going to do to make Biddulph a mental health friendly town? That's the key.
Thank you, Councillor Parks. The only question I would have is in terms of going forward with the next steps, do we have any plans to expand the training further to run further sessions, or is it simply we've got to the point where we are now with the numbers we have? The context of that is that I know certainly at least 2 of the local schools are interested in having people mental first aid trained.
Yeah, I think it's got to be expanded, Chair.
I think that's looking at the schools are a very appropriate place, because I think there's quite often overlooked the mental health challenges that the younger people have these days, because the pressures are different than they were. So I'll come back to you in a second if that's okay. I'll just respond to that first.
it's entirely up to you. Obviously, there's a cost associated with training more people. I don't know whether you want to think about, I don't say let the dust settle, but see how we get on initially, and then perhaps pick it up later in the year. See if there's put some feelers out and see how many people are interested.
Well, at least one of those schools has already contacted me directly and are prepared to pay to get it done themselves anyway. There's got to be a point where other organisations throw their money into the ring as well. I mean, and just following on from what you said, I mean, my day job is going out to schools doing mental health first. Believe me, there's a lot of mental health first jobs taking place in schools.
Right, thank you. So, Councillor Salt?
Yeah. Just on that point, and then I've got another point to make. I find it a bit frustrating that, because this was widely publicised and there were places left available for the training that the schools didn't take up. So I'm sorry, it was put out there for months and months, and if they didn't take it up, then it's their hard luck ultimately. That's how I personally feel. As an aside point, you might want to consider introducing some kind of Google form, Microsoft form. So how it works at work, if you're a mental health first aider, is every couple of, so you could do a meeting like you're doing every 12 months, but then every 3 months, every mental health first aider is sent a Microsoft form that says, how are you? Do you need any help and support? Have you used your training to help someone? And it's just that little form every 3 months that just checks in, so people can get in contact with you. And then the management of it doesn't become a meeting every 3 months, which is quite laborious, but there is a bit of a kind of check and aftercare. So a Microsoft form, in addition to sort of a yearly meeting, might be the way forward.
That's a very good idea. Thank you, Councillor Salt. Do we have anyone else who wants to comment on this, or we can move on to the next item? Okay, I'll move on then to item 83, to receive an update on a tourism town itineraries meeting attended with other town councils and Staffordshire Moorlands District Council.
Thank you. I alluded to this in the email that I sent at the end of last week. There's lots of new dates. We had talked about having a tourism working group, but actually we were invited, and Jodie and I went to the meeting to talk about developing town itineraries. and kind of getting people into Staffordshire Moors and then providing them with things to do while they're here. So, you know, day one, you go to Cheadle and you look at all the amazing architecture there. And then, you know, day two takes you into Leek, and then day three brings you over here. And we talked about creating those for specifically for our town. So we could have a kind of garden themed itinerary, and then linking the towns together. But actually that meeting turned into a wider discussion about tourism ambitions across particularly the three towns, and there was some quite useful information shared about markets and how they work within those two areas, and discussions about accommodation. And I gather there's a piece of work being done at the moment by the district council which will look at the types of tourist accommodation that's needed. So it was quite a beneficial group from that perspective. It turned out to have a much wider remit than we first thought. And at the end of it, we all said how useful it had been, and so they've put some additional dates in the diary for that. So I just wanted to kind of share that information with you in terms of the fact that that group is meeting, and hopefully going forward we'll have kind of some Biddulph itineraries to share with you. You know, put yourselves in the shoes of a visitor to the town, and also hopefully have some information as regards what potential accommodation need within the town, because it's something we've talked about for a while. The need for whether that's more campsites or more, you know, Airbnb type accommodation or whatever that is. So hopefully something useful will come out of that.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else want to make any comments on this at all or anything? No? Okay. Councillor Jackson.
Well, I think it's an issue that's been brought up many times at this town council, is the motorhome scene in tourism, and we've virtually got nowhere for them to park as close into the centre of town. Now, this could be something that we look at later on if we can take control, but it's just one aspect that is certainly on the tourism thing. It's a part of the industry that's on an increase, and you know, we've got Biddulph Grange there on the doorstep, and you know, I've said for a long time, tourism Biddulph does not get anything like its fair share of either tourists or the money that comes down for it, because we're not classed as a tourism area in a way, not the same way as Leek and Cheadle are, certainly. So that's just one aspect. I think that we perhaps could find a little niche in the market to attract the motor. I do remember between motorhomers and caravanners as well.
You walked right into my area here as a motorhome, well, camper myself. So yes, I think we've raised this in the past in terms of the potential for having motorhome stops on the Wharf Road car park, because I think the potential was when they were putting electric points in, there would be the possibility of that. But that's that's been raised previously, so you've raised it that one again, so which is quite good. Councillor Yates, you've got I think you were shaking your head there as if to say.
Yeah, only to say that Wharf Road car park is on the point of being oversubscribed, perfectly honest, and service plots for motorhomes would conflict with the usage of it. I think part of it is the fact that, you know, there's a lot of vehicles around and people travel, and part of it is obviously the loss of, shall we say, unofficial long stay car parking on Sainsbury's, but there's times where Wharf Road car park is getting very much up to capacity. There are a couple of potential sites in Biddulph, both with issues, and you're looking at service plots, but I don't think at this moment in time, I don't think Biddulph is particularly poor relation in the council-led part of the Moorlands, because we're having the same conversations about Leek, and the similar conversations about Cheadle. One of the problems with Biddulph is it's a very linear town with not much, you know, available width and obvious available land. I mean, what one would always consider as well, and that's the same about EVs. You tend to put the council will put EV charging points in basically to support early adopters, which is the position which we're in now. You know, to give people confidence to change. Then the private sector turns over. I would put to the committee in the most respectful way, because I think there is always an opportunity, is that if there was an opportunity for a motorhome place, then somebody with a little bit of land would probably have put an application in for a motorhome place. And certainly, you know, there are a couple of sites in Biddulph where those those are available, but really in some respects, it's as much a private sector issue as it is the public sector.
Okay, right, thank you. Councillor Jackson, do you want to
Just
get back on that?
quickly,
You had a-
one of the reasons why that car park's getting oversubscribed, the district council sold off over 100 car parking spaces in the past.
Okay,
Which,
right.
is fair enough. But we've got.
Let's not get into that debate.
Yeah, there is the other lot, not
We've
ours.
got the car park at Biddle Grange.
Yes.
And I know it's at the moment it's locked up at night, but surely that is a possibility for someone to park up there.
I think that there's the potential for creative solutions to this. I think Councillor Yates has alluded to. I think you've raised it again, which is a very good point to raise, and I think there are possibly creative solutions to this. I would just put the comment in actually that you can actually park at Balmoral as an overnight camper stop in the Queen's car park, and that's all sorted out. So I think the Grange is perfectly within the bounds of possibility. Right.
Georgie.
I think it's from memory when I stopped last time, it was £5. So any other comments on this, or can we move? I've got Councillor Rogers and then Councillor.
Just very quickly, Councillor Jackson is right. It's been spoken about for many years. When we did have a tourism subcommittee, many a time we said, how do we get people to come down Grange Road and turn left instead of turning right and going home? That's how it was put, really. And you're all right. Motorhoming is a massive industry nowadays. So it's something to be considered, yes, definitely.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Harper.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, I've got to support Councillor Jackson with what he said, and Wayne. You know, when we're talking about motorhomes and Wharf Road, you could put them at the side of the old toilet block and that could be reopened. Because we're on about cyclists coming into that car park as well, where there could be facilities. So that would be a good reason, I think, for reopening that toilet block if we had motorhomes there. I know when we did have the tourism committee, I went over to Leek one day to they had a tourism office. I said, right, what tourism have we got in Biddle to park your caravan or something? Well, there's Tarpley, there's Macclesfield, you know, and they went on and on. Nowhere in, but on the telly. There's nowhere in Biddle Fair.
Be aware of that.
You know, and I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, we tried this for Biddle Grange. And I think it was Andrew Hart was on about overnight stops there. And this was not accepted by whatever committee it was.
National Trust. Yeah.
So I think it needs revisiting quite because we're growing.
Okay, right. So I think there's obviously quite a lot of support for this. I'm going to come back to Councillor Salter as the last one because I don't think anyone else. So Councillor Salter.
Yeah, there are 2 sites in the Biddulph area, one at Malcoff and one at Biddulph Moor.
Look at Biddulph.
2 at Biddulph Moor now, so there are plenty of sites in Biddulph if you want to.
I think that
Your motorhome.
for caravan sites, yeah.
Too far from the town centre.
I think the potential issue was things close to the town centre, right? Okay, I think we've probably talked that one to death now. So we're going to move on to final item 84 to agree a course of action with regard to ownership and insurance of the cenotaph. This is the one you've had the second piece of paper come around, so everyone should have sight of this in front of them. Chief Officer, do you want to?
It's an issue that we've talked around on and off for a little while, and it's the ownership management of the war memorial. So when I made inquiries before about whether or not we could insure it and include that within our policy, I was advised that we would need to seek who was the owner of the war memorial. Well, in my investigations, the county council absolutely are responsible for the land beneath the war memorial, but will absolutely not take responsibility for the war memorial itself. So in terms of an owner as such, there is one. So I've given you this piece of guidance that's on the Society of Local Council Clerks website as regards war memorials. And essentially from that, it says that quite a lot of councils choose to adopt their war memorial. Now, as far as I can tell, there is only us that makes amendments to the war memorial. There is only us that cleans the war memorial. I don't think there are any other parties who are interested in doing it or would, put up a fight if it was that we said that we would adopt it. I just think we need to think about it, because going forward, if we're going to make improvements or enhancements to it, and we want to seek grants, the question will be asked as regards ownership. Also, If we do want to insure it, we need to have gone through a process to decide whether we do own it. You know, I think you'll remember from previous discussions when it was 100 years old that it was paid for in the town centre by public subscription and installed as part of whatever the version of town council was at the time, the urban district, I think. So certainly the association with the town council as it is now and the War Memorial has got a long history. Me, it would make it easier if we did kind of adopt it and we went through a process to do that. And then we can seek funds to, you know, restore the railings and add additional names with some clarity going forward.
Okay. Got Councillor Yates and Councillor Salt, but before I go to Councillor Yates, if we are to adopt the War Memorial, does that necessitate the county council who owns the land it sits on gifting us the land?
I think that's the question to have, and I haven't asked that question because I don't know what your desire is as such. I think it's a conversation to have with both the district and the county and just say, this is the position we find ourselves in. What's your recommendation going forward? It might be that the county want to have a kind of an exchange of documents and say, well, actually, your memorial's now set on our land and we agree that we'll take responsibility. Well, if that's what we've agreed, then that's absolutely fine, isn't it? Then we've at least got some formality about it.
Okay, right. In that case, I shall come to one of our county councillors first, and in that case, Councillor Yates, you've had a point to make on this or comment.
Only that reading the www.warmemorials.org and their grant criteria, it sort of infers that there's an acceptance that a lot, if not the majority, if not basically mostly all, of war memorials are erected through public subscription, and it's in the annals of time. The logic and reason and rationale and the ownership of that's disappeared, and that doesn't seem to be a barrier to getting grants. And the grant fund in that case to be 50%, but and I'm sure nobody, no resident would argue that it was a good use of council money to spend effectively on some, in this instance, on something which doesn't belong to us, if you know what I mean. Usually if you're spending money, you like to have a degree of ownership, so I don't see the ownership through criticality from that point of view, but it does clear up a historical sort of anomaly, and I'm sure the county, if they, I presume the county come up on the land registry as owning the land, if not the memorial.
Highways have confirmed that.
Confirm that, yeah. So in some respects, I would say they'd be probably delighted to take off a liability. But on other respects, I'd say if they own the land, they also own the structures on the land, to be honest. No, I know. I'm just saying.
You need to think about leasehold properties, don't you, really, you know? You can.
So the grant in particular that they was thinking about is Moorlands Partnership Board. So we've gone back and asked. I mean, certainly the one on here is raised as regards to restoration of the Moorlands Partnership Board. The first question when I asked about restoration of the railings was ownership. So it you know, for grants like that, I mean, obviously we don't have to put in from Partnership Board grant, but for grants like that, that's the question.
And coming back to the point of information, I doubt Moorlands Partnership would not effectively look to give a grant for something which they would de facto consider may well be a county responsibility.
Yeah,
they don't grant the county. They would grant the parish.
Okay, right. Thank you, Councillor Yates. Councillor Salton, then Councillor Redfern.
So my
Councillor Harper
proposal would be that this council, through Sarah, speaks to both the district and the county council to see if we can ascertain or see if we can be gifted the land, or, you know, given, so we've got ownership of it. Because even though, you know, the War Memorial will give grants, we've just established that Moorlands Partnership won't. We can't insure it unless we own it. And if we think about the railings, the reason why we need to restore the railings is because they were crashed into by a car. Had the War Memorial been insured, we could have claimed for that from the insurance. As it stands, we don't own it. There's no insurance. We can't insure it unless we own it. And therefore, my proposal would be that this council explores with the county council and the district that we formally take ownership of the lands and therefore the memorial, so we can get it insured and apply for grants.
Right. We have a proposal there. Yes, a second is from Councillor Proudlove. I've got Councillor Redfern and then Councillor Harper for speaking. Okay, we'll speak on that before we take any
Well enough, councillor Salter said exactly what I was going to say. The eventuality of some idiot crashing into it and demolishing it
Could have happened.
Yeah. Okay.
Can I just,
very easily and built.
Can I come to councillor Harper before I come back to you, councillor Yates? Okay.
That try.
Okay, thank you, councillor Redfern. Councillor Harper?
Right, thank you. I fully agree that we should, if possible, take possession of the memorial. But we've got two Remembrance Biddle. And the one down the church was, I think it was either 12 or 18 months prior to this one being installed.
The St Lawrence's Churchyard Memorial,
Yeah.
first memorial.
Someone might turn around and say, well, that's really nothing to do with us. Then I would ask the question, why a few years ago did we do some repairs to it? I would only repair something that you own or you've got an interest,
Not according to this.
Yeah.
you know? So
I think
I
that.
can't look at this in isolation then.
So, is there a comment on that, Chief Officer, in terms of the, because I believe the Churchfield, they own that memorial.
Well, so they do, it's on their land,
Yeah.
but it's a closed
Churchyard.
churchyard, which, and the management and the maintenance of that area have been transferred to us. So I suspect that whatever restoration was done there was done as part of that arrangement that we've got now. But that's not, it's simply because it sits within the churchyard. It's not us having taken over responsibility for the memorial, that still belongs to the church, but absolutely, if there's, restoration or repair or whatever that needs doing, we'll absolutely have that conversation.
Yeah, I mean, if we can take over this one, then we can take over that.
I think there's a different point here, because what we're talking about here is effectively adopting an unowned and unadopted memorial, whereas the one in the churchyard is clearly owned by the church. So I think there's a different case here. I think it's possibly worth investigating with the church if they would be happy to.
So, Chair.
Okay, so perhaps we pick that up as an investigate going forward, but okay, right.
The last thing is, this morning, because I'm a member of the War Memorials Trust, I had my magazine through, so I shall read it, because on the front of it, it's a memorial covered in wood and fencing. So perhaps there's something more I can read on that.
Right, thank you, Councillor Harper. Councillor Yates, do you want to?
just really to make sure, and you're probably ahead of me as usual, is that the county become very, very, very clear that you want the footprint which is bordered by the fence, not any of the cobbles, pavement, curbings and whatever, because they will want to get rid of any liability completely, if you know what I mean. You don't want to be responsible for replacing a chipped curving.
Well,
on
that.
I think we need to define what we actually want, and it's what we want, not what the county is an opportunity to dispose of.
You can, unless Chief Officer, you've got a. Okay, Councillor.
Well, there are some plans that are sitting in Sarah's office, which might be before you were a town councillor, where we were redeveloping that space.
Yeah.
So in actual fact, it might be an ideal opportunity to actually ask for the whole space, because that is part of the regeneration plans that we had, and they need to
Put some information and maybe some new tranche of UK Shared Prosperity Fund, if you think that's a reasonable project to go ahead with that. It's mostly revenue, but not practical.
I was going to say, I should clarify that.
We'll clarify that.
Okay, right. So I think we've got a proposal. Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Councillor Lawton, I didn't see your hand up there. I apologise.
Don't worry, thank you. Those of us who remember before the pavement was extended to reach the War Memorial, remember it being in the middle of the carriageway with concentric stone sets round it. And I would always argue that if you like, the site itself is more than that of the railings.
Yes, yeah. Cobbled.
From that era. And I actually think it ought to be that bit more. To have a breathing space. Part of it at the moment is cobbled, is it not?
It is.
It is.
And I don't think we should be concentrating on limiting it exactly to where the railings are.
Thank you very much. I think I'm 100% behind that, because you may or may not remember that I spoke very much in favour of that development when it came a few years ago to the committees. So I think that we have a proposal that the Chief Officer investigates the opportunities to take on the
to formally take ownership of the land.
of the land,
So that
and
it could
for you
be
for you to decide the scope of how much land you think would be appropriate in that context. Are we happy for the chief officer to make that decision?
I think that's important.
Okay, because I think it would be useful to take up, to develop that.
Just want
We have a seconder from councillor Yates, please. Thank you. We have a seconder from councillor Proudlove, so can we have a show of hands for all those in favour?
Anti-church, Chair.
I've written
Yeah,
that down.
and that we've already got, we've got that one as well, isn't it? Okay, as an amendment, thank you.
Can I just say, just a point of clarification, because
Can now.
councillor
I've stopped talking.
sort of said, sorry about that, and I don't mean so. Alls I want to be clear about is we take ownership of what this town council
Yes.
wants,
Fair enough.
not what the opportunistically the county council would see as an opportunity to have responsibility. If we want a wider area for doing other things, then fine, that's this council's decision. I don't want Staffordshire County Council to just think, oh, this is an opportunity to remove a liability and put it on to somewhere else. We're happy with taking on that liability, fully supported as part of this council.
Okay, right, thank you. So you have a fairly clear mandate there, chief officer? Okay, right, so at 19:31, I think that's the end of the agenda. I declare this meeting closed. Thank you very much for your attendance.
Sure.